Hey everyone, for today's video, I'll be covering every chamber, every half, and every enemy in the 12th floor of the 6.3 Spiral Abyss to help you get those precious 800 primos. Okay, so for this Spiral Abyss, every time you trigger a lunar reaction every 3 seconds, you'll end up doing a shockwave that does true damage, which isn't too important, but if you're looking to maximize your performance, I'd consider keeping this in mind when building your team. Now, for every first half of each of the 3 chambers, the active character will be able to do 75% more charge attack damage. So obviously you're gonna have to cave in and summon on Columbina if you want to maximize your performance. Or you can just ignore these obvious predatory practices and use any charge attack DPS like Nefer, myriad, Nuvilat, or Risley if you want to maximize your performance. Here's how to save big when topping up for Genshin Impact's 6.3 banners. Lubar.gg has a limited discount where the 6,480 Genesis Crystal Bundle is only $70 for a week starting December 23rd. They also have a bunch of other discounts on different bundles like the all-in-one bundle and the guaranteed bundles. They also have a 10% off for new users coupon and a 5 and a 3% off for returning users coupon. To save on your top-ups, go to loopbar.gg, choose a bundle, put your account information, then click top up now. Then select your payment method, add or use a coupon code, then click pay now. In a couple of minutes, your discounted bundle should arrive. Now loopbar.gg is trusted by creators like Genshin Impact and Copa Certified, and that has a 4.9 rating on Trustpilot alongside a bunch of 5-star reviews. Also, don't miss Loopbar's new moon events. Every spin is a 100% guaranteed win. You can score massive discounts, free monthly cards, or the grand prize, a guaranteed Columbina bundle worth $365. So if you want to save on topping up, go to loopbar.gg by clicking the link in the pinned comment or description. And for every second half of each of the 3 chambers, lunar charge damage will be increased by 75%, meaning that you're gonna want Flint's, Inefa, or Columbina with other Electro or Hydro characters, not just if you want to maximize your performance, but if you actually want a good shot at clearing the Spiral Abyss, because it seems like every chamber in the second half has enemies that make you need either lunar reaction or lunar charge gimmicks to beat them. Anyways, now that all the buffs have been covered, for the first half of the first chamber, we've got the Perpetual Mechanical Array, who I would best describe as a hassle, because once you get the main boss below a certain HP threshold, it splits into 4 different enemies, where only one of these enemies can be defeated. Once you defeat this enemy, all 4 enemies should disperse and become the original Perpetual Mechanical Array, this time weakened and stunned, meaning that you're gonna want to save the majority of your rotations' damage for this moment. Now, the hassle in all of this is that all 4 of those enemies do a lot of damage through their long-range AoE attacks, and because you can only defeat one of them, you're gonna have to actively focus on fighting one enemy while 3 other enemies are constantly firing at you from all sides, where defeating them to stop their attacks won't be an option. Thus, if you're going to fight the Perpetual Mechanical Array, you're gonna need some sort of healer or shielder to sustain your team from 4 different enemies. Not only that, but because the only enemy out of the 4 that can be damaged typically has far lower health than the actual boss, using new characters like Skirk, Mavuika, or Moalani will be extremely annoying, because it means the majority of the damage from the nuke you've been building up for is gonna go to waste if you use it on that one enemy. Not only that, but because the boss becomes weakened and stunned right after you defeat the enemy, you're really gonna want to use another nuke in rapid succession. But what makes these new characters in the first place is that they can't do powerful nukes in rapid succession, meaning that while the boss is weakened and stunned, new characters will mostly be building up for their nukes and they'll miss out their window to do a ton of damage. Same thing can be said about teams with short rotations. Thus, if you want to maximize your performance, using non-nuke characters or teams with long rotations with a sustainer will make this boss a less of a challenge. For the second half of the first chamber, we've got regular Wild Hunt enemies and the Lightkeeper. For both of these enemies, when you reduce their initial health bar, they get stunned for a short period of time, and during that short period of time, you'll be allowed to reduce their second health bar. Now, if you don't fully reduce the second health bar before they recover from being stunned, their initial health bar will fill up the same amount as the rest of the enemy's second health bar, and you'll have to reduce their initial health bar, then fill up their second health bar, then reduce their initial health bar over and over again until you fully fill up the second health bar. But if you use lunar reactions, you can reduce the initial health bar and fill up the second health bar at the same time, so that you don't have to worry about repeating repeating the cycle over and over again. Thus, you're gonna want to use a moon sign character on your team, and preferably a full-on moon sign DPS. For the first half of the second chamber, we have a construction specialist mech and a pyro Wayob. For the construction specialist mech, the only unique trait for it is that you can remove its elements and restrict it to only basic attacks if you hit it with 2 Numa aligned attacks. So if you want to maximize your performance, using a Numa aligned character like Furina or Nuvilet would be good, but I wouldn't worry too much about this since this boss's weakened state isn't too big of a debuff. But for the pyro Wayob, this one will be a bit more tricky. After a certain period of time, the pyro Wayob enters a state in which your team loses all of their energy and continuously loses their energy until the pyro Wayob's shield is destroyed. Now, the shield the Wayob has during this state reduces the amount of damage you do tremendously, so you're gonna want to do Naito aligned attacks from Naito characters like Kinich or Chaska to destroy it as fast as possible. Now, if you do destroy it before it leaves that state, your characters gain all of their energy and the Wayob becomes weakened and stunned, which is when you're supposed to do the most amount of damage possible. But if you don't, the pyro Wayob's shield will be converted into a pyro shield and you'll have to reduce it by using hydro attacks. Now, regardless of all of this, the pyro Wayob has pyro res, so you should avoid using pyro characters. For the second half of the second chamber, we've got the Pippin Idol. For this boss, you're going to really want the lunar charge or electro charge reaction, because this boss, after taking enough damage, will summon 3 hats, hide in one of them, and periodically switch between them until enough damage has been dealt to it. During this state, the boss will have a ton of res towards every element except hydro and electro, and that will take a lot more damage from lunar charge and electro charge. So you're gonna want to use hydro and electro, but especially lunar charge based characters like Flint's, Inefa, or Colombina if you want to quickly do enough damage to take it out of its enhanced states. Now, once you take it out of the enhanced states, its resistances will be lowered significantly, which is when you're gonna want to prioritize doing the most amount of damage. And it receives 12% of the non-hydro or electro damage it took while it was in the enhanced states, but it will receive 100% of the hydro and electro damage it took while in the enhanced states. So again, you're gonna want to use hydro and electro characters. For the first half of the third chamber, there's going to be an electro and cryo radiant beast. These beasts will have increased resistances to their respective elements, and after a short period of time, they'll remove a percentage of your HP and reduce your incoming healing, crit, and damage dealt until you heal back to max HP. Once you heal back to max HP, these debuffs will be removed and your damage dealt and crit rate will be increased. So you're gonna want to use a healer for your sustainer if you want to deal with them. For the second half of the third chamber, we've got the Knuckle Duckle, who you'll also want to use the lunar charge and electro charge reaction for. This is because this boss enters an enhanced state after a brief period of time, where he takes practically no damage because of its massive resistances. So the only way you can take them out of this enhanced state is by defeating the ducks that it spawns when it enters this state. These ducks have enhanced resistances towards every element other than electro, and they'll instantly be defeated after taking lunar charge or electro charge damage 10 times. So you'll want to at least use an electro character and definitely use them with a hydro character to quickly defeat these ducks and take the boss out of this state. Once you take the boss out of this state, its resistances will be reduced back to normal and you'll be able to defeat it far quicker. Okay, so now that I've gone over how to easily defeat all the bosses, I'll be suggesting some team compositions that you can all follow to have an easier time with the Spiral Abyss. For the first half, a Nuvilet team will obviously be a very good choice because Nuvilet can take advantage of all of the buffs and he works pretty well against all of the bosses. Thus, a typical Nuvilet hypercarry team or pretty much any Nuvilet wheelchair team that isn't a freeze reaction or electrocharge reaction based team would be the most optimal, but these teams can definitely work as well. Also, if you're going to use a pyro DPS, I'd recommend using them in a vape team or with a powerful Naito character, since the second chamber has 2 pyro Wayobs that really want you to have a hydro or Naito character to be defeated quickly. For other team compositions, pretty much any other team composition will work, since there isn't a common denominator between every boss in every chamber like in the second half that prevents certain teams from being viable. For the second half, I genuinely don't see how the majority of people will be able to fully clear this abyss without having a mix of hydro and electro characters for the second half. Thus, for the second half, you'll really want to use a powerful hydro or electro DPS paired with a hydro or electro applicator, or an Anemo driver like Miski or Ifa paired with hydro and electro characters, with one of these characters preferably being using a lunar charge character like Flint's Inefa or Colombina. Now, even though this guide went over a lot of the nuances in the Spyro Abyss, most of the time, if you have a premium meta or sub-meta team, those teams won't have to worry about these nuances. For example, if an enemy has resistances towards Pyro characters, using a premium Mavuika team will still lead to a viable performance because of how powerful her premium teams are. Thus, either use one of the team layouts suggested in this video, or just get a meta team. Anyways, that's all I've got for today. If you've enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. If you wish to know more, you can click on the video to the right. With that being said, goodbye.